Transformers reviews, tech and the news, whatever else I use as a muse. Hit subscribe, I appreciate the views. Influences interest on YouTube.
So we're gonna get right into this. You want to first turn your thermostat off. Turn it off because you never know what's going on inside your house. Then you want to come to the breaker box. There's usually a breaker box on your air conditioner, on your central air unit. You want to pull the breaker out, or you might flip the switch, however your breaker is. But you want to do that because you never know what's going on again in your house. So then I'm just checking here in the air. Most central air units are built similar to this, where you can take the fan off, or it's a bigger unit maybe where the fan is bigger. But either way, you can locate the screws that it takes to take the fan off so you can get inside. Now this was made to open up, and here I go. Fast forwarding, of course, I'm taking all the screws. It's just 4 bolts that are flatheads, really. Just make sure you don't lose them. And there's a spider. You kill the spider. Anybody that knows me know I do not like spiders. So this was a job for me. There was a few in there. Now I'm delicately picking up the fan, not only because of the spider, but because you don't want to damage anything in there. There's wires connected to the fan. I'll show in a minute. Like mine's in a conduit tube, like that's stuffed into the side, and you can see those wires. They go into the main unit. They're like that so they can stay out the way and don't get caught up in the fan. But there's usually some slack where you can lift it up and get the wires out the way so you can get the fan out the way. And I did this. I had a lot of slack, actually, not enough to get caught or anything, but I just had to figure out a way to set this fan up. And there I go, trying to get some more slack out. And there was quite a few slacks, not the pants, but there's quite a few inches of slack that was able to get out. So just find a way out. Be careful. I was trying to be delicate because you don't want anything to do with these wires. I was testing it, make sure it wouldn't fall if it got bumped or anything. So I'm pretty confident that it was fine where it was. And now for the next steps. So in a minute, I will show the inside. So yours might look similar to this. There's a lot of leaves in there. It may be a lot, may not be a lot. You may be able to get in there and scoop it. But what I'm showing now is the coils. Those coils are what we're cleaning today. What makes it efficient, what makes the air flow. And they get super dirty. And you see it's dirty in the bottom, it's dirty on the coils. Those coils should be able to not see through, but light should get through more than it is. So if you got a shop vac or something, you may want to take the shop vac like I'm doing here and just suck up all those leaves. My shop vac is pretty good. I'm fast forwarding again. So just get all those leaves. Be careful of all the electronics. You always want to stay away from all the electronics, the wires, the pipes. You don't want to hit those. It looks like I'm going fast here, but I'm really being careful around the edge. Now, when we spray later, here's the Havoc cleaner. Not sponsored by Arm & Hammer, but it had good reviews. And after using it, I was okay with it. Like, I liked the way it smelled. I liked the cleanliness that it got. So after you vacuum, then you want to spray all the coils with the coil cleaner. Like I said, you can get any coil cleaner. It's not sponsored, but you want to spray. You're probably going to use the whole thing. Depending on how big your unit is, you may use 2 bottles. I only had 1, and I used basically the whole thing. I probably could have used another. I did spray the outside as well. You don't really need to spray the outside, but if it's gunked on, I did want to spray the outside, but you want to spray water from the inside out. So you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. Again, I'm just using a whole bottle of spray. So it could get in there. It's basically like a degreaser, but I think it's a little more gentle. You need to be careful with those coils because those coils are quite delicate. and there are some bent, but there wasn't enough for me to try to fool with it. You can fool with the bent ones, but again, I wouldn't touch them unless they were like really bad, and then you may have to think about replacing or something if they're like super bad. But again, let it sit for 10 minutes, then you just spray it out. Now, my unit was getting a lot of water in there, and that's because it was dirty at the bottom still. It had a lot of gunk at the bottom, and you just want to spray down, and you can see it's a lot cleaner than it was when I showed it before. You can even see the cleaner going down and kind of cleaning that gunk out. The bottom, don't worry about. Don't get the electronics super wet, but all of this is made to be wet because it's outside, and it's a grate. Like, there's nothing covering it. And it's made to get water in. It has drain pipes or drain holes at the bottom. Again, mine were filled with gunk, so I will show you in a minute what you might want to do if yours is filling up like mine is right here. But again, stay away from just spray inside out, and don't spray too much. Don't use a power washer. You don't need a power washer. You could bend those fins. Again, just get a good spray all that out. It's not tedious. It's actually just being careful with the wires and stuff. With the fan is the most tedious part. This is pretty easy. And in a minute, I'll show you where my plugs, because it was filling up pretty good. So I didn't want it to fill up. So I started squirting the plugs to get the gunk out. And you will see what I mean here. You see those plugs right there, but it's gunk because it was so dirty. And now it's draining pretty well. So all in all, after that gets done, you don't even have to wait for it to dry. You just want to line it up again. Make sure you're getting the fan in. Sometimes you got to drop it straight in because of the clearance in the fan. And just make sure you have the screw holes lined up, and that will be how you need it to be. And with the slack, if you got any slack from the line, which you probably will, make sure that slack is put back down because you don't want it to get into the fan. That would be bad. So just right here, I'm just making sure the slack is down where it was supposed to be in that piping. So everything looks good. Everything seems to work. I was actually trying to move the fan to make sure, but I will do it again later, and I'll advise you to do it as well, just to make sure after you put the screws in. Hopefully everything should be good, because if you put the screws exactly how they should, if the screw holes line up, that's the way you want the screws in. So just put the screws in real quick here, probably a little slower than me. And then I stuck that in just to make sure. I don't advise sticking anything in the fan at any other time, but right then, just something quick. Now what you do, replace the fuse. You don't even have to wait for it to dry. Like I said, it's mean to get wet. Then you want to go into your app or your thermostat inside and turn it on. Make sure it's working. So if this helped you out, this is Inflewence, and like, subscribe, and share. Peace.
Ain't over, life ain't over, life ain't over, life ain't over. As long as you alive, you can give another try and take it real high.